Hey guys, winding her down. Just a couple of these left, so it just kind of frees up my time. It's been a lot of fun. And again, I guess the big takeaway from these videos is that you can make money doing this. This is how I'm making my living. Some of these tickets from Aqueduct I've been putting together, it's tough to hit pick fives. It's very tough to hit pick sixes. I find that 95% of my income comes from betting straight win bets and exacta plays. So I really focus on that, but you have to know your strengths. Some people focus on hitting the big jackpot tickets, and that makes their year. If you hit one for $150,000, you can have a lot of slumps along the way. I prefer to kind of do that grind every day, but that's just my temperament. I like winning a lot, so playing pick fives is a little bit tougher. Today I'm going to focus on a pick three at Aqueduct. Let's face it, Aqueduct's racing hasn't been all that inspiring lately, but there's still value to be had there. I do actually like a couple races from Turfway today. You got to look around. There's lots of racing happening everywhere. They have a pretty strong card today, and they do run this afternoon. So Aqueduct's seventh race. This is a 50 starter going a mile. We'll do the late pick three. I think because there's a couple of bettable races here. There's some really cheap races today. That's typical. You get the maiden claimers, the 16 claimers. Yeah, it's just Aqueduct this time of year. So the 8 furlongs for this 50 starter, I've got 4 horses that I'm keying in on. I didn't really get too specific here. I do have the 3-horse suspended campaign as an under horse. There's just a pattern here. There's some things that I don't like about him. A win and then a layoff never makes me too happy to see. I mean, it doesn't make anybody happy. When horses are in form and they're in winning form, you want to capitalize and try to maximize the earnings for the year. You don't say, oh, let's give him a rest now, he won or she won. There's always a reason. He came back with a work fairly soon after, 3 weeks later. So, not bad, not ideal. Another work fairly shortly after that, and another work, but now no activity since November the 16th, and we're looking at December the 12th today, so that's a concern. There's some warning signs here, but I do have her as an underneath play just because, some of the figs fit. She's got a running style that should fit the scope of this race, although she can get herself a little bit far back. So those are all things to consider. I always look at why have they been away? Does this make sense? If it doesn't make sense, then it's probably a warning sign. The 5 Matula, this horse figures to take a lot of money. I think she's the one to beat, actually. I've got a couple of top horses. The 6 Exotic West will maybe go off as the favorite. I've got issues with Exotic West, not huge issues, but I do like Matula a little bit better. She's run pretty cheap. This is a 50 starter, and she's never come close to being in for a 50, but she has speed. She's coming off a nice win. Changes barns to a barn that does exceptionally well with claims, and ridden by Franco again, so he knows her. So we'll watch her to be a controlling factor in this race. The 6 Exotic West, her better figures definitely coming on the turf lately. She does have a fairly strong figure here, which would be enough to win this race if she comes back to this, but it was an off-going, and she had a perfect trip from Rosario. Other than that, she can do that. She tends to like a little moisture in the track, you can see. She's okay. I don't have strong feelings about her. And I really think that she's going to be overbet. She's a very possible winner, but I want to look in a couple of other directions. My Girl Lexi coming off the claim for Linda Rice is another consideration. Just missing last out. I actually like the fact that she didn't win here. And now Linda takes her over. Hasn't run at Aqueduct, but certainly one that can sit close to the pace. When she's going longer distances, which she is today, she definitely gets herself into the race. So she's a consideration too. So I'll start with those 4 horses here in race number 7. And again, the 3 would really be just an underneath play. Race number 8, I like the one Core Conviction. This is an A non-1. There are a ton of horses and claimers. There's some definite concerns about Core Conviction, like why are you a 4-year-old making your 3rd lifetime start? Started once early in the 4-year-old season, which was even already kind of like where you've been. And then that was enough to knock him on the shelf until October when he finally came back to work. Definitely some physical issues with Core Conviction, but if he comes back to what he did here and improves even a little bit, I think he wins this race. Obviously, they've been extremely patient with this guy. Paid a ton of money for him. You got a long way to go to make back that 435. Other than that, I just see him as being a controlling factor from the inside. You know, there's horses. This is you know, the Mike Maker horses coming out of Claimers. He's okay. I don't mind this horse. I mean, he's got a couple of figures that could be a consideration in here. Of the rest, he's probably the one that I would take if I was looking for another horse. Adair is, you know, probably going to be the favorite off of these couple of 90 buyers. I'll bet against these horses every day. He's 1 for 14 with 4 seconds, 4 thirds. This is a horse that just doesn't seem to be able to find the winner's circle. Yes, it's probably a direct function of the company he's been keeping. There are some pretty tough horses that he's faced, definitely tougher than the horse that I'm picking has. But you get these hanging tendencies and you just think, you know, is this the way the horse is? Is he just always, excuse me, going to run up against somebody else that's better? I'll play against him. He's definitely a horse that has a lot of consideration though. The 6 Dust Devil, another possibility here. This one showing speed last out, but I'm just going to ride with the 1 Core Conviction and see if he can live up to some of the potential that he hopefully had, and that they've been this patient with him. The 6 furlong race to finish out the day. This is a maiden 25,000 claimer. This one's tough. Obviously, I'm going to take tons of coverage in here. I'm going to hinge my ticket on the 312 with the 2, 6, and 10 as considerations too. The 3 Kisses for Val, for John Toscano. Last start he was so far back, but he passed horses. He'd been close up, fade, close up, fade. Now from off of the pace, actually passed horses. I like that. That's a change in kind of running style here, and I do like that. I think he can build off of that. The 54 is competitive with the rest of this group. Had the outside post position last time, so you know there's no speed here. We've got a first-time starter here that I've put for, you know, kind of an underneath horse, Bellboy, just because he hasn't shown that he can't run yet. Had really strong work here October 29th, and since then hasn't really come back to that work. So I don't know. I mean, what horse is he? It's not often they do this. They usually go the other way. They usually work slow and then work quicker as they go along. But that's kind of a question mark for me. I'll take the 6, 10, and 12 as well. The 12 is going to be one that I think can be a winner. The 6 Grey Quest, speed. You know, that's why you got to, these horses are in these levels because they don't like to pass each other. So when you find a horse with speed, you kind of have to throw them in. The 10 Hangout for Dave Donk. This horse had multiple opportunities, but a lot of them have been against maiden allowance horses, albeit at Finger Lakes, I know. But it's the first start with Dave Donk. He is, you know, he can take these horses and do all right with them. The last 3 buyers in the 50s would look kind of competitive here. There's not a lot to be extremely bullish on Hangout, but I think he's, you know, if you're playing superfectas, throw him in. The 12 Majestic Tiger for Steve Asmussen, a likely winner. You know, if the other horse I talked about doesn't do it, then Majestic Tiger could certainly be a major consideration. This race here was solid. Lizcano will ride today. Lizcano and Asmussen has been a good combination so far. They were intent on turfing this guy. That didn't work out too well. You know, he had just, that's a problem when they come out and they run so well in their first start on turf. Then you're going to keep them there for a long time and then even move them up, right, to run a maiden allowance. He faced some tough horses here. This is a much more realistic spot. The drop down in class is the big secret there with Majestic Tiger. You get out to these outside horses, now you're just, you know, way out on the hill. They would really have to have a lot of luck to be able to win. Carmouche on Jack's Dream might get this horse into the race early. Maybe he's another consideration as well, but I'll stick with just those ones. The 312 as my top 2 and the 2, 6, 10 to round out the rest of the superfecta. So that is, you know, just a look at a little late pick 3 there from Aqueduct. Again, the racing hasn't been super inspiring, but it is what it is. There's always 1 or 2 on the card. That's what I like about win betting. You only have to find the 1 or the 2, and you can pass races like that where you just have no opinion because you're not playing a multi-leg sequence where you're forced to, you know, try to find a winner in a maiden 25s when it doesn't look like anybody wants to win. Anyways, have an excellent Sunday. Enjoy whatever it is that you decide to play. Take a look at the Turfway Park card. A lot of great trainers running horses there, a lot of full fields there, and some good racing. It's synthetic, but that's what I have been doing for the last few years. So that's been a fun track to play too. Enjoy the day, and we'll see you again next week for probably the finale of this series.